So in that meeting Sunday night before the bye week, Browns had 17 carries, 40 total yards, 2.4 yards a carry. Joel Bitonio, Browns' outstanding left guard, talked about the run game as well as run against the Ravens' stacked front and only running the ball 17 times against them.
There's a few times where, the alignments were a little bit off and we were off a guy, one less guy to block and stuff. And in those situations, you have to try and make the best of it, get 3 or 4 yards, get yourself on track, because this team, the Ravens, does a great job when you're 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 plus, and it's hard to convert on those because they have so many different pressures. But for us, it's, there might be a couple ugly runs, but we have to get the most out of those and make sure, try and put us in formations where we're not going to have, too many ugly boxes, and we have answers for everything we can do. I mean, if you look at our last game, we were I don't know how many yards we had, but it was probably less than 20 in the first half. And we had moved the ball very well, and so I think when you look at a team like the Ravens, they're kind of banged up in the secondary. We want to make those passes. We want to make those big chunk plays. It wasn't really working for us. And, I can't blame Coach for not running the ball 40 times last game. Like, we're getting 2 yards a carry, and that's something we have to be better on. But it is hard to stay committed to it when it's not working. There is something to be said about body blows and finishing a game, but when you're not getting first downs, you got to find a way to try and get those first downs.
All right, and Scott, let's take a look at this tweet from NFL on CBS. This will tell you some things about the Ravens defense that we've alluded to. First in the NFL in yards rushing allowed, just over 84. Nearly last in passing yards allowed at over 272. 30th at 6.01 yards per pass play. But third red zone efficiency and third down conversions best. And what that tells you is you don't want to get to third down and long because you're not converting, and it doesn't matter when you get inside the red zone because it's not certain you're going to be scoring.
Yeah, I tell you what, I loved how Joel answered that question, because there's so many people that, hey, you have to stick with the run, and they, reference Kyle Shanahan when he was here. And I get that, and I get that that's what the Browns do best. But if you're the play caller, and I'm just trying to relate to Kevin Stefanski, if I'm watching my best player, Nick Chubb, get a yard here, 2 yards there, and I think Nick's long was 5 yards the other day. Maybe it was 9, him and Kareem. One was 5 and one was 9. But there's no, the chances for an explosive play are really low. You're putting yourself in bad situations after that. And if you throw it, it's just easier to get 10 yards throwing the ball, right? As opposed to running it. Running it, you have to be successful almost every play. So I love how Joel answered that. I think it's a tough decision for Kevin Stefanski. And those numbers make me think that the Browns could come out throwing the ball. But like I said earlier, I think it'll be balanced, because you can't afford to just give up on the run, because, first of all, the Ravens rush the passer really well, and you leave Baker in some tough spots. But also, that's what you do, and you want to be balanced. So, I think Stefanski will is struggling to find exactly the right plan. But you can't just go one way or the other, and you certainly can't just say we're going to run it 45 times, because you might wind up with 70 yards total.
Yeah, and the flip side of it is you have to be successful on first and second down, because if you get in third and long, the chances of converting, even an explosive pass play, they're pretty. You saw it. It's about 30%.
No, you're exactly right. And the Browns have struggled on third down offensively, right? So that's a bad combination. And I thought it was interesting with talking to Joel again. The Steelers, people keep referencing the Steelers. Well, they kept running it with Najee Harris. Well, first of all, the Ravens did not approach the Steelers the same way. They had softer boxes, the Ravens, against the Steelers than they did against the Browns, right? Because they feared Big Ben, probably more than Baker. They feared the Steelers receiving core, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, more than the Browns receiving core. So it was easier for Pittsburgh to keep running. Their bad runs were maybe 3 or 4 yards, and the Browns were 0 or minus. So they always kind of had a good run going, and then they were able to keep chipping away. And I asked Joel about that, and he agreed. And he said the Ravens, for the first time all year against the Browns, when the Browns would go 3 wides, instead of going nickel, the Ravens stayed in a base personnel, which shows you that their number one goal was to take away the run, and they weren't scared of the pass. So the only way to get them out of that is to pass.
Yeah, and basically what they're saying is you have to beat us with Baker Mayfield's arm and the wide receivers. And to be honest with you, the Browns are going to see that. They can do it. They did it against the Bengals. They got to do it again. They're going to have to do it again in the final 5 games.